Morning, Neil. Let's start with the fact that you rested 8 players for the FA Trophy game at the weekend. Just how beneficial was that going into a relatively busy Christmas period?
Well, I think if you've seen the game and the pitch, it was hugely beneficial because the lads needed wellies to get through it. You always want to give the boys, them boys needed minutes. Some of them coming back from injury, some of them have been training like demons and desperate to get their chance. And it was unfortunate for them. It was, on a pitch like that where they couldn't really show all their skills, but they had to show their battling qualities. And I think everybody did that brilliantly, and the attitude was spot on. So we all go in, we come through with no injuries, which is the main thing. We all go into Christmas in a good place.
Yeah, usually Christmas is a very busy time. It's not so busy this time around for a number of different reasons, but a lot of the players have had 10, 11 days rest going into a relatively busy amount of games. Just how important is that they get the right amount of rest and relaxation over a busy period?
Yeah, of course you want to. It's accumulative when you end up getting injuries through fatigue. It normally comes over a period of time. Yeah, you're right. Normally we have 4 games over the Christmas period. This time around we've only got 3, which still makes it a little bit strange as to why we insist on playing on the 26th and then not giving anyone any recovery and playing again on the 28th, and then having a nice big period until the 2nd of January. So if you'd have spaced them out nicely, then it would have been a lot easier to get through.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. The game on the 26th on Boxing Day, a trip to Kings Lane, and then a home game on the 28th. How do you prepare for that?
It's difficult because I think you have to try and attack the first one as best you can, and I think the second game will take care of itself if you can get a result in the first one, and you'll look at the bodies. But the data and the science tells you that players are still in a state of fatigue 48 hours after a game. So you'll be sending some players out on that pitch for the second time and they'll be fatigued before they even start, and that's when you really do run the risk of injury. So we'll have to do the best we can with it because we haven't got 22 players all fit that can play in each position. So we'll work out how we attack the games.
Yeah, what's the plan for the between now and Boxing Day over the Christmas period?
So we'll give them. I mean, I don't believe that I need to have the boys in on Christmas Day. I don't believe I need to have boys away from their families. We've got several players who live or come from London, several players whose families are elsewhere, and if I can't do on what would normally be a Thursday, I think it is actually this year, but what would normally be a Thursday compared to a Saturday, if I can't get the match prep and get the boys ready for the game on a Thursday instead of a Friday, then something's wrong. So I trust them. They'll do the right things over Christmas, and we'll roll into Boxing Day and see how we go.
Have you set the players any specific rules going in? Obviously, we've got new tier restrictions coming in. Is there any things that they're not allowed to do given the circumstances?
I think the restrictions the government put on everybody take care of it. There's nothing anyone can do. I think they're all wary of trying to keep safe, and it is literally, leave the training ground, go home. I think that's all anybody can do. And, when you're at home, whatever you do needs to be in moderation, with preparation for a game. No one's going to tell the players they can't have Christmas dinner. But it's, eating 2 Christmas dinners, 4 puddings, and then loads of cheese and biscuits at night might leave them in a bad place for the next day. So they've just got to make sure everything's sensible.
And for you personally, your family are in London. How will these new tier restrictions affect you and your Christmas, Neal?
They will. My wife was due to come up and spend New Year's with me because we're in training on the 31st. We're in training on New Year's Day in preparation for our game. But now my wife can't travel from Tier 4. I'm not going to be able to travel back and spend New Year's with the family, so I will be in a flat on my own, counting down the New Year. But I've spent most of my time in a flat on my own anyway, so it's nothing unusual. But that's the Tier 4 will affect that. I won't be able to be with them. As for Christmas, I'm part of a bubble with my family, so I will go back on Christmas Eve and I will leave first thing Boxing Day morning. So that one day is my only day.
Well, it's good that you get to see your family on Christmas Day, Neal. Back to things on the pitch. Only 1 goal conceded in the last 6 games. What do you think's changed at the back in particular?
I don't know. Sometimes you talk about momentum, just getting in a rhythm and doing things right. I think, other than the Boreham Wood game, where they scored, it was a set piece. Two-phase first and second phase set piece. We haven't been opened up in open play at all. So, but if you look back through the season, and I certainly do, and I've got the data and the stats, if we hadn't conceded set plays, we would have the best defensive record in the league. So in open play, I think we've been very, very good as a team. And sometimes that momentum now, it's like a record the boys have become proud of. And I mean, everyone from front to back have become quite proud of it. So hopefully it's something they keep working extremely hard to protect.
Indeed. And very finally, just how satisfied are you with your current position in the league going into the new year and a very busy Christmas period going into 2021?
Yeah, it's been a tough season for everybody with COVID and games being called off and mini breaks and stuff. So it's been a bit strange. I've never had so many Saturdays at home watching the results come in a season at all. So it's been stop-start. Obviously, we've lost a lot of players. Damien McCrawley's barely played. Wes Thomas has barely played. Callum Roberts has barely played. So we've lost a lot of important players. So to be where we are in the league and chipping away is really, really pleasing considering, and hopefully, like we say, we try and build everything up so we finish stronger as the season goes on, and hopefully if that's the case, we'll have a better chance than last season.
Excellent. Well, that's all from me, Neal. Hope you have a lovely Christmas with your family, and we'll see you in the new year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a bit of housekeeping first of all, mate. What's the state of play with Callum Roberts?
So Callum, it looks like Callum's going to have some surgery, and potentially that looks like it's going to be today. So we've looked at all the data, and a specialist has had a look and feel that a lot of his symptoms are coming from maybe a weakness in his lining of his stomach, which isn't a hernia that would show on a sports hernia that would show on any MRIs or scans, but it's something that certainly this guy thinks that it's the symptoms, and everything he's seen and looked at on the scans tells him this is the best course. So Callum could go under the knife today, but the positive news is on it that the recovery rate is that he could be at 80% within 2 weeks and at 100% within 4 weeks. So if this is right and it is the problem and it does get fixed, and that information's right, then potentially midway through January, Callum could be back in and around the fold of it, which is great news.
So it is a hernia, but not one that
it's not a full-on hernia that would show on an MRI. This is what they think. I mean, again, we're still none of the scans have shown exactly what it is, but a specialist has gone in and said with these symptoms he's seen it before, and it may be that he just mesh lines a little bit of the weaker area. Simple operation, and that will give Callum the strength he needs to stop the pain and discomfort he has been feeling and soreness. So let's hope that the experts are spot on, and let's hope, like I say, if he's 80% ready to be back in the fold after 2 weeks, then that's great news.
Where's he having the op done?
Good question. Somewhere local. The physio was sorting all the bits and bobs out this morning. So fingers crossed.
And how is he? Is he sort of pleased to sort of know kind of what the problem is?
Yeah, I think so. I think as always, you just want to know what the problem is. You just want to get back playing. So, it's none of the scans have shown enough for us to really go for this top specialist to go in 100%, or for us to be 100%. But we're at a point now where we have got an absolute expert involved, and they're confident that this will be the one thing that solves it. So we touch wood, as I am now, and hopefully we'll have him back midway through January.
Wes Thomas?
Again, just personal stuff, so couldn't tell you whether he's going to be available. He's come back in training today, but like I say, it's he hasn't had any game time now, which obviously Saturday would have been a key element towards. So we'll just monitor that one as we go along.
Is there any chance that he could play a part over Christmas, or is it like a week by week thing?
It's doubtful, as in the fact that he's actually not kicked a ball for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks as far as any game time. So that's a worry going into a spell like Christmas. obviously Saturday would have been key to that. So I couldn't say what yes or no either way at the moment. We've got to sort of see how we get through the first game and what injuries we do or don't get, and then work out where we go from there. So like I say, and he's got his wife's about to drop a baby, so we're a little bit sort of in the lap of the gods with it all.
And Damien McCrory.
Damien's not great news. Damien's he's the opposite knee to the one that he had done post lockdown at the end of last season. Seems to have broke down, and Damien's an absolute warrior. He has battled and put hours and hours into getting back fit. And when Damien tells you something's not right, you know it's not, because he'd play with a broken leg, the lad. And we've got him for another scan, and it's shown one or two things that will need surgery. So Damien's going to be going into surgery. Not sure the date. I think it will be fairly soon, and that could be anything from a sort of 6 to 10 weeks, depending on how serious it is once they get in, which is terrible news for the lad more than us. Obviously, it's bad news for the first team, but really terrible news for the lad, because he is an absolute warrior.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those players who just never lets you down wherever you put him in the team, isn't it? Left back, left centre half. How's he coping mentally? Because he obviously had a great season last year.
Yeah, he's really down, and I had a chat with him this morning. So we're spending this period up until he's up, trying to build all the muscle up around the knee, because obviously he'll have to have a bit of time off it after the op. So it's a blow for us, but more importantly it's a blow for the lad. You never want to see people who are working so hard to get fit and so desperate to play their part struggling, and Damien certainly has done that.
In terms of the bodies, I mean, obviously you're going to lose one player there for a considered amount of time. Callum's obviously might not be ready until mid-January. Do you think you'll look to bring somebody in after Christmas, or if you're in this position, just to keep the squad as strong as possible?
We always look, yeah. Obviously, if Damien's going to be out a long time, we weigh up and see whether we need to bring strength in that position. We'll the games are going to come thick and fast once we get into January and beyond. Just like we'll be weighing up all the positions and where we need to strengthen if possible. But you've got to try and do it the right way. You've got to keep an eye on your budget and make sure that you're not just throwing money at the problem every time. You have to find the right solutions.
Matty Wolf, obviously he came in last weekend. Was excellent. His loan's up on January the 3rd. What can you tell us about
that? Not a lot at the moment. I think I'm not trying not to think too far ahead. We've got Sam Graham, Matty Wolf. There's people. Jimmy Knowles, obviously. Mansfield. There might be a clause where Mansfield need to assess that. So, as always, when you have loan players, Tom Walker with Harrogate, there comes a point when they're not your players. They're the parent club. So we're not sitting on our backsides and doing nothing. We're looking, we're analysing, we're looking at all various options. If we lose any of them, we're looking to see how they, what part they play over Christmas, because it might come to a point where you can't get them game time, and they realise they're better off going back to where their club is, and it might be that they're playing regularly and the club are really happy. So let's get through these 3 games, and then we'll take a deep breath and see where we go from there.
Would you like to keep them all if you could?
I think it's got to be a two-way thing. I think the players got to want to be here, and obviously we've got to be happy with what they're doing. So, like I say, them players are doing great. Their attitudes are fantastic. So in answer to your question is yes, of course I would like to keep them here, but I don't want to keep a player here where the parent club are unhappy with their game time, if that's the case, or the player is unhappy with his game time. And Wolfie's probably grown as a player massively since he's been here by not even playing, just by even training with Doyley, Reevesy, Jim O'Brien players in his position, and they've raised his standards, and then you get what you got on that performance. I don't think we'd have got that performance in the first week or two of Wolfie arriving at the club. So he's certainly given me food for thought, over this Christmas period as to what part he might play, if any.
Yeah, well, I think he said himself after the game on Saturday that the fact he'd learnt so much in training from the likes of Jake Reeves, Michael Doyle, and just the standards they set in training and in games.
And nothing to do with my coaching then, Lena.
Take it with him, mate. No. Kings Lynn, obviously Boxing Day. What do you know about them, and what sort of threats do you think they will pose?
Every team poses threats. I mean, really strange. Like I said, I've watched a lot of teams over the course of the year. Kings Lynn, very, very open, expansive football earlier in the season. Very rotational, different systems, different patterns, different movements. And I thought all four teams that had come up from the National North and South were very much of the same ilk. They were very much footballing teams. And they've mixed their systems up a little bit. They've played three at the back, and recently against Torquay they were a back four, a bit more 4-4-2, and a little bit more tighter in the way they played, and they put in a really good performance and could have won the game. So I don't know, it's hard to know what to expect because they haven't stuck with the same system regularly throughout the season, but I think they've scored a lot of goals. They've conceded a lot, so I think any game away from home, you've got to pay respect to that team, and we've got to make sure we do all the right things we have been doing to come away with a result. I
think back to last year, and it was at this point last year that your team really started to motor through the gears. It feels like you're hitting momentum at exactly sort of the right time. A good Christmas period can really set you up for the second half of the season, as it showed last year.
Yeah, sometimes. Last year I think we had 5 games from the Halifax game on the 22nd or 23rd, whatever it was, all the way through to the Maidenhead game on New Year's Day. I think we had like 5 games and we went unbeaten, and that's great. I think this time around we've only got 3 games, with the cup game being on Saturday. We've only got 3 games before we go to Eastleigh on the 9th, so it's possibly not going to have as major effect on the league table over that period. But it's just about momentum, and a good result at Kings Lynn gives us momentum. And if you've got momentum and everyone's feeling like they're in a good place mentally, then that tiredness that they might feel from the 2 games in 3 days might go out the window. Adrenaline might get a lot of us through it. So who knows? Momentum's big in football, and we've got to keep earning the right to try and keep that momentum going.
Obviously 2020, a crazy 2020 is drawing to a close, but if I was to ask you to look back and sort of pick out your favourite moment, your proudest moment as Notts County manager, what would that be?
Difficult one, really. I think leading the team to Wembley was, in any walk of life normally would be an extremely proud moment. Obviously, I can't say I enjoyed the day because of the way we performed and what actually happened, but probably more importantly because of no fans being there and no atmosphere, and not even being able to sort of say to Notts County fans that we took you all to Wembley and we had that day, that that wasn't even possible. So I think, given the start of the season last year and what we went through, to be able to be 1 game away from promotion took a lot of effort and a lot of good stuff. Obviously the disappointment, that's probably the bit I'm most proud about, but the disappointment of the day obviously overshadows it.
I think that's just about it. Sorry, back on Damien again. Do you think he'll play again this season?
I hope so. I think with his attitude and the way he goes towards his work, you've got to remember this season goes on into end of May, June. So it's not like a normal season where you've only really got 4 months once the season turns over. This time round we've got maybe 5 and a bit. So I hope so. I hope so for his sake as well as the team's, because, like I say, the lads love him and he is a warrior and he deserves to be playing football.